Hello and welcome back to another video, and I'm super excited today because today we are out with Adam Gibbs, Paul Thomson and Henry Turner for a landscape photography adventure, and conditions are particularly blustery today, so I'm going to be talking about how to get sharp photos in terrible conditions. So let's get into it. So the location we're going to be visiting today is a location that Paul and Adam have been to a couple of times before, so it's quite nice to get some knowledge of an area that I've never visited before. And apparently there's a couple of waterfalls up here and also this wonderful Caledonian pine forest as well, so it'd be great to see what we can find today. It does look absolutely beautiful. So one of the key considerations I'm always thinking about when faced with really horrendous conditions is the location and whether that location offers shelter. Now where we're walking now is a glen, and we're heading towards a waterfall, and we've got shelter on both sides from the mountain range, which is great. On the way here we had those 40 to 50 mile an hour gusts battering us, wind and rain coming in at the windscreen, couldn't see, visibility was very low. But in here, completely different. So picking the right location is key. So I'm set up here for my first shot of the day, and it's very gusty in this spot, which is making it quite tricky. Now I've got this amazing waterfall here, this big gully in front of me that leads the eye through the scene up to the wonderful snow-capped mountain in the distance there, which I think looks absolutely wonderful. Got this S-curve as well, which is quite a nice pleasing aspect of the frame, and that's why I've got the camera positioned up quite high, because I want to see that S-curve. If I'm a bit lower down we can't really see the river, so positioning the camera quite high is ideal for this shot. Now that presents a few problems, because obviously the higher we've got the tripod, the more susceptible it is to the windy conditions. You're going to get vibration, so I've dug the spikes right into this soft embankment here, which is helping us to get a more sturdy position for the camera. Now what we have here is a lot of wind rushing through this channel, and everything's moving, all of the ferns and bracken, it's all moving around, and I wanted to try and freeze that motion, but I also want to get a slowish shutter speed in the water. I want to show some motion within the water, so I'm going to blend two images together for this shot. I'm going to bump my ISO up to ISO 400, and that's giving me a 250th of a second shutter speed, and that allows me to freeze the motion in these grasses. So I'm going to take another shot with a 3-stop filter on, reduce my ISO back down to 125, and that's going to give me a slower shutter speed to show that motion within that water. And then what I'm going to do is blend those two images together in Photoshop, and it's a simple procedure, and I'll show you how I do it just after I show you this photograph. Here we are in Lightroom, and we've got both of our images here loaded up. As you can see, this one here is our quick exposure, and this one here is our longer exposure. So this one was 1 second, and the other one turned out to be 320th of a second. So we raised the ISO for this one 400, and this one we reduced the ISO back to 125, and we had the 3-stop filter on. So if we zoom in, you can see these bushes and shrubs here are very, very soft, and that's because they were moving around during that 1 second exposure. And here we can see we've got that nice motion blur of 1 second in the water, so we've still got a bit of texture and detail. We haven't lost everything, but we're getting a nice bit of motion as well. So if we go back to the quicker shot, you can see the bushes and the shrubs here are all nice and sharp, but obviously we've got that quicker exposure in the water. Now I've processed both of these images slightly different. I've processed this one for the land and the sky, and I've processed this one for the water. I wanted that water to be a little bit cooler. We're going to take these images into Photoshop now, and I'll show you how I blend those two images together. So I'm going to highlight both of these images by holding Shift. I'm going to right click, and I'm going to come up to Edit in, Open as Layers in Photoshop. So here we are in Photoshop, and as you can see we've got both of our layers here in the layers panel, and as you can see we've got the quicker exposure at the top, and that's absolutely fine. If I toggle that one off, you can see our longer exposure just below it, and basically what we're going to do is we're going to paint in that longer exposure into this top image. And we're going to do that by using a layer mask. But first of all, we're going to align these layers, because if I turn this off, you can see there's a little bit of movement. So I've moved the camera, probably putting the filter onto the camera. So we need to align those layers up first. So I'm going to click Shift and highlight both of these layers in the layers menu here. Come up to Edit, Auto Align Layers, and Photoshop. I'll leave that on auto. So Photoshop will do its magic and align both of those layers. Now, as you can see here, we've got a bit of a margin around here, and that's where it's moved the images. So that's fine. We'll crop that out a little bit later. So I want to add a layer mask to this top layer. So I'm going to highlight that top layer, come up to my mask, and it's added a white mask. So what I'm going to do is grab a brush, which I'm already on my brush tool, and a black paint. For this, I'm going to select my opacity to 100 because I just want to paint in the smoother, longer exposure below. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit by pressing Command and plus on the keyboard, and then I'm just going to paint in that sort of longer exposure effect into the image. Now I'm going to do this quite quickly just for the sake of the video, because we want to get back out to that amazing location, because I ended up capturing a couple of really nice photographs a bit later in the video. So let's just quickly work this in. I don't need to be too careful because the layers are aligned, so I'm just painting that in there. So really super quick and easy blend there. What we've just literally painted that longer exposure into the image, which has allowed us to get that longer exposure, that motion blur in the water, whilst also getting a nice sharp image here in the brackens and ferns. So yeah, super quick to do. Just to finish off, I would grab my crop tool and just crop out of those edges there where we ended up moving the camera a little bit during the the exposure where we're changing filters, so just crop that out. Now it turns out that I don't really like this photo that much. I'm not that keen on it, and that's really because the light never really fell where I wanted it to fall. I wanted the light to be on the mountain. I want some drama in the background, and use that waterfall, that leading line, if you like, to guide the eye into the scene, and it just didn't happen. The light was always falling on this area here, and to be honest, as nice as it is, there's not enough interest there for me to make this image a keeper. The eye just tends to want to stay in this area, and what I was really trying to do was get the water flow to lead the eye into the scene, and unfortunately there's just not enough of a payoff here to drive the eye into the image. So for that reason, I'll end up throwing this image away and it won't be a keeper. But I think it was a useful exercise just to show you how I actually blend those two images together to create that sharp photo and that motion blur within the image. So we're going to head out back into the field now, where I ended up taking a couple of really nice images that I was really pleased with. So let's get back to it. Now we're heading on up the trail to meet the others, and I thought I'd just share a couple of tips for shooting in these real blustery conditions. Now, one consideration I always run through is how clean my lens is. Now I know this sounds quite obvious, but when we've got these blustery, wintry conditions, there's lots of stuff floating around in the atmosphere. There's water droplets, dust, sand, grit, dirt, all of that, which gets on your lens and can ruin your shot. So it's always worth just taking a little glance at your lens every now and again, just to see, just to make sure it's clean. Also, I think when conditions are like this, it's well worth taking more shots than you actually need. So I probably took 20 or so different shots back there, all of the same scene, just in case, the wind blows the tripod at the wrong moment, or perhaps we get a very strong gust and my shutter speed wasn't quite quick enough to freeze the motion in the grasses. So yeah, taking a lot of images, I think, you kind of hedge your bets, if you like, and it will help you guarantee to get a sharp photo. Oh, it's a bit chilly up here. Anyway, they're not much further up here, so it'll be interesting to see what the guys have taken so far. Oh my gosh, the waterfall down here is just absolutely spectacular. There must be a shot there. Wow, absolutely stunning. So Paul, how are you getting on? Got any good ones?
Yeah, I think I'm getting something. It's really difficult though. I mean, it's not the greatest. You've got all these trees blowing around in the wind there. bit challenging.
I was kind of using 2 shutter speeds back down there.
Exactly,
quick
yeah.
one for the grasses and whatnot, and then a slower one for the water, which has worked quite well. But obviously you've got the blend then, haven't you?
Yeah, well that's it. But I don't think you've got an option here really, unless you're going to go for everything being out of focus.
Yeah,
so
man.
just gotta go with it.
Awesome.
Winter.
Good stuff. So for a moment there, we were treated with an absolutely beautiful rainbow. This hailstorm or snowstorm swept through the valley, and the light was just peeking through the clouds from behind, lighting this mountain up here. It was absolutely stunning. The rainbow kind of split the mountain in two. The light was on it. It was absolutely wonderful. Managed to get a nice sort of panoramic looking shot of the mountain with the rainbow. And I know Henry and Paul both managed to capture it from further downstream as well. I think Paul managed to get the waterfall in, so it'd be well worth checking out their images. I think they've probably got some absolute bangers. I know Adam is much further downstream. I'm not sure if he managed to capture it or not, but we'll catch up with him in just a bit to find out. But what an absolute treat. And I think that's a really good point about being out in these terrible conditions, if you like. Quite often terrible conditions can lead to really exciting moments. And it's all about putting yourself out there and making the most of those moments when they come along. So I've found Adam. Let's go and have a little chat, see how he's doing. So Adam, have you got any tips for shooting in like really difficult or challenging conditions like we've had today?
Try to find subjects that, and I keep harping on about this, is try to find subjects that go with the light that you have at hand. I mean, today the light's been changing so rapidly.
Yeah, rapidly. Yeah,
so
for sure.
If you're patient, sometimes that works, but if you don't have the patience, then just look for subjects that will fit the light. So at one point there was a lot of light hitting the lock, which is really nice.
Oh, it's amazing, wasn't it? Yeah.
And I got some shots of that, and then when the light was quite flat, I went for the waterfall. So yeah, I mean that would be my best. I mean that works for me anyway.
Kind of adapt and react to the conditions, isn't it?
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah, fantastic, man. Yeah. Awesome. All right. So mate, how's it going? You get any good ones?
Think so, mate. It's been absolutely class. Like, what a spot. Just running around like a madman.
It's great, isn't it?
Yeah.
The waterfall there is just absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
And the rainbow as well. Unbelievable.
I know, I think we've had a couple. The weather's changing every 2 or 3 minutes. It's been special, hasn't it?
Oh,
I mean, I'd
days.
love to get a good photograph, but I think even just as a memory, this has been so good, man.
Such an incredible day.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant, man. So I'd just like to take a moment to personally thank Henry for an absolutely amazing trip. It's just been such an incredible experience. And also a big thanks to you as well for following along and watching this series. It's been truly an incredible experience. So what an absolutely special day it's been. It's been great to meet up with Henry, Paul and Adam. I haven't met Paul and Adam before, so it's absolutely brilliant to meet up with them. There's a couple of great guys. Please do go and check out all of their channels. I'll leave the links down in the video description. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to check out the one that's up here, and my landscape photography ebook is linked up here and down in the description. You might find that interesting. Anyway guys, take care and I'll see you all again next week.